Ford Motor Company is more than just a car maker, it's a living piece of American history, a brand that has shaped the nation's roads, its economy, and even its identity for generations. From the earliest days, Ford has stood as a symbol of American innovation and resilience, pioneering not only the automobile but also the very way things are made, with the moving assembly line revolutionizing industry worldwide. For over a century, Ford's iconic blue oval has represented the American dream: accessible mobility, hard work, and progress. From the groundbreaking Model T that put the world on wheels, to the best-selling F-150 that powers today's workforce, Ford's vehicles have become part of the nation's story. Generations of families have found their livelihoods at Ford, learned to drive in its cars, and built their lives around its vehicles. For many, a Ford in the driveway is more than transportation. It's a symbol of family tradition and pride. Ford's story is deeply woven into the fabric of America itself. Its ups and downs echo the nation's own, making its struggles feel personal to millions of Americans who see their own hopes and challenges reflected in the company's journey. So when Ford faces a crisis, it's not just a business problem, it's a national concern. The fate of Ford ripples through communities, affecting jobs, families, and the broader economy. Recent economic policies from Washington intended to protect American industry have instead put Ford in jeopardy. Tariffs and trade disputes have raised costs, disrupted supply chains, and created uncertainty for one of America's most storied companies. The paradox is clear: a policy designed to help U.S. manufacturing is now threatening one of its greatest champions. Ford, once a symbol of unstoppable progress, finds itself at a crossroads, caught between global competition and domestic policy shifts. Ford's battle has become a real-world test of bold economic experiments, watched closely by everyone from Wall Street investors to factory workers on the line. The outcome will shape not just Ford's future, but the future of American manufacturing itself. The company's struggle is a stark reminder that even the strongest American icons can be shaken by global economic forces. No company, no matter how legendary, is immune to the shifting tides of policy and market dynamics. Understanding Ford's predicament is key to understanding the true impact of these policies, not just on one company, but on the entire American dream. As Ford fights to adapt and survive, its journey will reveal what it truly means to be an American icon on the brink. To grasp Ford's crisis, we need to understand tariffs, a tax on imported goods. Tariffs are meant to make foreign products pricier, encouraging Americans to buy domestic. The Trump administration used tariffs as a tool to fight what it saw as unfair trade, especially from China. The goal: protect U.S. jobs and industries by making it harder for foreign competitors to undercut American companies. This marked a sharp turn from decades of free trade, which aimed to lower prices and boost innovation. Tariffs became both an economic weapon and a political statement, signaling a new era of confrontation. The new tariffs hit a wide range of goods, but for automakers, the most critical were those on steel and aluminum. The idea was to revive American metal industries, but it overlooked how much U.S. manufacturers rely on global supply chains. The stage was set for a collision between policy and reality. In 2018, the U.S. government made a bold move by imposing steep tariffs, 25% on imported steel and 10% on aluminum, justifying the decision on the grounds of national security. The idea was to protect American industries and jobs, but the ripple effects were immediate and far-reaching. The auto industry, which relies heavily on both steel and aluminum for everything from frames to body panels, was hit hardest by these new tariffs. Automakers are among the largest consumers of these metals, and their supply chains are vast and complex. Ford, for example, sources its materials from all over the world, constantly balancing cost, quality, and reliability. But the tariffs upended this carefully managed system overnight, forcing the company to rethink its entire procurement strategy. As soon as the tariffs took effect, imported metal prices soared. Domestic producers, seeing an opportunity, raised their prices as well, knowing that automakers had few alternatives. Suddenly, Ford was facing higher costs from every direction. Whether they bought steel from abroad or at home, the price was up. Every single vehicle, from the best-selling F-150 pickup to the family-friendly Explorer SUV, became more expensive to build. The cost increases touched every model, every trim, and every assembly line. For a company like Ford, which already operates on thin profit margins, this was a major blow. Even a small increase in material costs can mean millions lost over thousands of vehicles. Ironically, the policy meant to help American industry was now squeezing one of its biggest and most iconic players, putting pressure on jobs and investment. Ford, a company proud of its deep U.S. roots and history, suddenly found itself at odds with a government policy designed to protect companies just like itself. The tariffs weren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet, they became a daily, costly reality for everyone involved, from executives to factory workers. Ford's leadership now had to navigate a new world of rising costs and fierce global competition, making tough decisions that would soon be felt by employees, suppliers, and customers alike. The financial hit from tariffs was immediate and massive. By late 2018, Ford's CEO revealed the company had already lost about $1 billion in profits due to higher metal costs. This wasn't a projection, it was real money, already gone. Even buying American steel didn't help. Prices there had become the world's highest. Ironically, Ford was penalized for building in the U.S., the opposite of what the policy intended. The company responded with a global restructuring including thousands of job cuts. Many in the U.S. retaliatory tariffs from other countries, especially China, hit Ford's exports hard, making American-made vehicles more expensive abroad. Ford was squeezed at home and abroad with profits and jobs on the line. The tariffs meant to protect were now threatening the very heart of American manufacturing. The nation watched as Ford, a symbol of strength, struggled under the weight of these policies. The perfect storm was underway. The pain from tariffs rippled far beyond Ford's boardroom. What started as a policy decision in a high-rise office quickly made its way down the corporate ladder, impacting every level of the company. Executives debated strategies, but the consequences were felt most acutely by those on the ground. On the factory floor, workers faced layoffs and uncertainty, feeling betrayed by a policy meant to protect their jobs. Many had dedicated years, even decades, to building America's most iconic vehicles, only to find their livelihoods suddenly at risk. The sense of security that once came with a steady job at Ford was now replaced by anxiety and doubt. On the showroom floor, customers saw higher prices, sometimes hundreds, even thousands of dollars more for new F-150s and Explorers. For families saving up for a new car, these price hikes were more than just numbers. They meant tough choices, delayed dreams, and for some, the end of the road for buying American. Ford had to choose, absorb the costs or pass them to buyers. Either way, it hurt. Absorbing the costs meant shrinking profits and risking future investments. Passing them on meant risking customer loyalty and sales. There was no easy answer, only difficult trade-offs. Higher prices pushed some buyers to delay purchases or look elsewhere, hurting sales. Dealerships that once buzzed with activity now saw customers walking away, unable or unwilling to pay the new premiums. Unsold cars began to pile up, and the pressure mounted on everyone from sales staff to factory workers. The very people tariffs aimed to help, American workers and consumers, were now paying the price. Workers worried about layoffs, while families worried about affording reliable transportation. The promise of protection had turned into a burden. The dream of a manufacturing revival clashed with the reality of rising costs. Hopes for new jobs and expanded production faded as factories slowed and hiring froze. The optimism that once surrounded American manufacturing was replaced by a sobering new reality. Ongoing trade disputes made it nearly impossible for Ford to plan for the future. Every new tariff or policy shift sent shockwaves through the company, disrupting supply chains and making long-term decisions risky. The uncertainty was paralyzing. Automakers need stability to invest in new models and factories, but uncertainty froze those plans. Engineers and designers, once focused on innovation, now spent their days recalculating costs and rethinking projects. The future of American automotive ingenuity was put on hold. Instead of fueling growth, the tariffs cast a long shadow over the industry's future. Hopes for expansion dimmed, and the once bright promise of American manufacturing leadership seemed to slip further away. The ripple effects were everywhere, on the factory floor, in the dealership, and in communities across America. Small towns that depended on auto jobs felt the pinch, as local businesses suffered and uncertainty spread. The cost of protectionism was becoming painfully clear. What was meant to shield American industry had, in many ways, left it more vulnerable than ever before, forcing everyone, from executives to workers, to confront a new and challenging reality. News of Ford's struggles under tariffs shocked Americans. The promise was revival and protection, but Ford, an American icon, became a casualty. For many, this didn't add up. How could a policy meant to help hurt the nation's most beloved automaker? The answer lay in the complexity of modern manufacturing, where even American-made cars rely on global parts. Communities that hoped for a manufacturing boom instead faced layoffs and uncertainty. The public reaction was confusion and frustration, as the gap between political promises and economic reality became clear. Ford's troubles forced a national conversation about who really pays for tariffs. The episode revealed that simple solutions can have complicated, painful consequences. Ford's experience became a lesson in how interconnected and fragile modern industry really is. The nation was left questioning the true cost of protectionism. Ford's ordeal is a cautionary tale in the debate over tariffs. The policy aimed to help American metal producers, but it imposed huge costs on a much larger industry. Ford's billion-dollar loss, job cuts, and higher prices were real, not theoretical. The auto industry, a major employer, paid the price for protecting a smaller sector. Disrupting global supply chains proved to be a blunt, damaging tool. Instead of sparking a renaissance, tariffs created instability and forced Ford into retreat. The lesson strengthening American industry requires smart, targeted policies, not broad measures that backfire. Ford's story is a reminder that economic decisions have real-world consequences, often far more complex than slogans suggest. The debate over tariffs will continue, but Ford's experience stands as a powerful warning for the future.